Hello and welcome to Stylish Chats with Creatives. Today on the podcast, I'm chatting to Natasha Aldred, and she is an artist from Pendle, and she is called the Pendle Witch Project on Instagram, and this is our third time trying to record. So we are actually face-to-face in Bruntwood in Manchester in a really posh podcast room. I feel like this is super posh for me. And it's so lovely to meet you face-to-face because I feel like we have tried so much.
We really have. And I'm pretty sure the universe was just like, no, not now, not now, not now. Finally, you can do this.
Yeah, 100%. I feel like it was like, now's not the time, girls. It needs to be on the 3rd of Jan, the third time, and then you can talk.
In a really posh studio.
Yeah.
Get this right.
Yeah. And it started snowing this morning as well. So I'm so glad that we're both actually here. Because as I was driving this morning past Stones and it was snowing and I was like, shit.
I was exactly the same. I was like walking towards the train station, slipping everywhere thinking, oh God, this is the day I break my arm or something. I have to call her this time because I'm in hospital.
I'm just so glad you didn't slip over. The snow, touch wood, hasn't been that bad. So we can actually talk properly like how we intended months ago.
And it's better because it's face to face, like I can actually, gauge your reaction properly now rather than it like on the screen where it was just buffering a little bit. And I was like, is she okay with that? Can she hear me?
Yeah, that's the hardest thing. Like that tech is supposed to be so easy, but it has failed on me a handful of times. And sometimes it'll be like a little bit of a connection issue, or it'll be like you say the internet buffs, or for me it'll be my husband playing video games downstairs and my internet goes, your podcast's not important, Call of Duty is. And you're like, oh okay, cheers, thanks.
Yeah, he needs to kill these zombies.
Yeah hurry up and kill them, hon. Some of us are busy. Oh dear. So you actually got in touch because you and I both know Ali of Folks and Fabric.
Yes. I haven't met her in person, but she's been so lovely over Instagram and her work's just absolutely amazing. And I think, I was commenting on something she'd done, or it might have been one of the podcasts I'd listened to with you and her. And it was fantastic. And she was just like, yeah, go on, do it. And I was like, I'm too scared. She was like, go on, it'd be amazing. So here you go, Ali. Yeah. Finally, we got there. Yeah.
And Ali does illustrations as well, like digital ones. Are you more digital? Are you more like traditional? What's your kind of style?
I was very digital. I spent a lot of time on Procreate, but recently I found that I prefer the traditional side. I've kind of taken a little step back and I've started doing a bit slower process with pen and ink dot work, or pointillism as some people might know it. It's just feels more natural, a bit more mindful for me, and feel like it fits better with the kind of folklore and witches and dark art, which I prefer to do. But anyone who does digital, honestly, it's amazing work. I just got bored of doing it on the iPad. I needed something more physical in front of me.
Yeah, I think as well, because the iPad, you probably zoom into a section and then you maybe don't see the whole thing coming together in one. That's how I imagine that you do it.
Yeah, definitely. And also, like, you just don't get the same... I think you can get, like, paper pieces and stuff to put up on your iPad now, so it feels more like pen and paper. But you don't get the same texture and the same feel to it, especially with dot work as well, because it's very, like...
repetitive.
Making a weird action with my hand right now, but it's very repetitive, but it just doesn't, like, translate properly to the iPad.
Yeah.
And you can't get the shading with it as much as you can when you're doing it on paper, like, because there's ways of doing it where you can do it slightly from the side or straight up, and it'll just give you a different dot, whilst that doesn't really work when it comes to digital. Or it might do, I just haven't found the correct way of doing it.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things that's kind of expanded massively. And you and I probably both know from when you're getting tattooed, tattoo artists are using Procreate, and like everyone's using different systems now, I guess.
Yeah.
But they're obviously like still expanding with what you can and can't do. And like you say, if you're doing you want something to be dotted in a certain way, but you're not getting the right angle because the technology's not enabling you to do that, it makes sense to go back to paper.
Yeah. And also like with like traditional, you've got to be a bit more like mindful with it. You can't just go, oh, I can erase that. You know, just press the undo and go back. You've got to like be like very conscious of where you're putting your mark. With pencil, obviously, you can just rub it out and, you know, start fresh. But as soon as you go in with pen, it's like, that's it. It's permanent and you can't change it without having to get Tipp-Ex or redo the piece. And I quite like that it's permanent, and you make a mistake, like Bob Ross, you know, you never make mistakes, you make tiny little happy accidents.
Yeah.
So, I like that fact that it's just happy accidents all the time.
Yeah. And that must create like a nicer feel to your artwork as well. And I know whenever I was doing artwork, like as a teen, or like even now, I'll do artwork and then I think, you look at it more critically when it's your own work, right? So you maybe pick up more mistakes or happy little accidents than others. Yeah. But actually, that's a whole part of the whole journey of the entire piece.
Oh, definitely, yeah. You are a lot more critical when it's your own stuff. There's been plenty of times I've started a piece, absolutely loved it by the time I finished it, and then like 5 minutes later, I've been like, I hate this. I hate everything about it. And then I'll come back to it like a year later and be like, well, actually, that was all right. Yeah. And then a few minutes later, I'm like, nah, don't like it. I'm going to start fresh, just start again.
It's funny how our minds work like that, though, isn't it? You look at it with fresh eyes like a year later and you're like, oh, yeah, it looks great. Then you look back again 10 minutes later, like, yeah, actually not sure.
Yeah. And I've found sometimes if you just spend too long on a piece, you can like, and I've said it plenty of times to my boyfriend, I've been there for like hours and hours and hours, and I'll look at it and I'm just like, I don't like it. And then I'll come back the next day and I'll be like, yeah, actually, I just spent too long staring at it. I was staring at that one little section for way, way, way too long.
Yeah.
And he does it as well with his music. Like he'll just spend hours listening to this one little riff or one little note he's put down. And he's just like, I hate it. And I'm like, it sounds really good. You've just been listening to it too long.
Yeah. That's, I think, is an artist's kind of nemesis, I guess, just looking at it or listening for too long. So how did you get into the kind of folklore-y, witchy, darker side of artwork? Because I've seen your artwork and it's incredible. And I've since shown a load of people as well and been like, look at how amazing this is. So tell me how you got to that point, because I think there's got to be a little journey as to how you got into the folklore side, the magical side.
I've always been interested in like witches, and one of my favourite TV shows when I was little was Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Even at 8 years old, I was still watching that. I don't know why my parents even let me watch it. And then Matilda, and I loved fairy tales. I remember through like college, I did a piece on a German folklore. I can't remember the full name of it, but it was all about a red-legged scissor man who came along and chopped a little boy's thumb off if they were sucking the thumb. So it was like, you know, a gruesome tale for kids.
Yeah.
And when I went to uni as well, I remember doing like my final piece on like the Grimm's fairy tales. So, but at that point I was going through a big photography stage. I was like, oh, I want to be a photographer. So, because I kept flittering from here and there. And I remember kind of like photographing them all and then drawing over the top of them and messing around. And then since then, I've kind of just stuck with like horror and more of like the alternative side of art, even with like bands and stuff like that. But it was the riches and folklores really taken precedent when I moved to Lancashire. And I'm not too far away from Pendle Hill where I am now, which is well known for the Pendle Witches and the Pendle Witch trials. And it was my mother-in-law who turned around to me and she was like, Tasha, you love drawing like witches and you love like drawing all kind of the alternative gothic side. Why don't you do something on the Pendle Witches and like the folklore? And I was like, oh yeah, that's pretty good. And I'd read like loads of books and stuff since then, like on like wild women and kind of fairy tales, myths. I'm still learning loads, like I've got so much to learn still. And I was just like, yeah, that kind of it fits, like that's where I should be doing it. So there, that's how it's kind of all jumbled up together, just from like loads of childhood interest and then moving over there and just something just kind of clicked. And I was like, it's the time. It's the time.
Yeah. I think that's it. Like I'm a firm believer that the universe has like plans for you. And it's almost like your mother-in-law was like, hey, why aren't you doing this, girl? And like for you to just run with it, I think your heart must have known that's what you wanted to do.
Yeah, it definitely did. Like, I think there was so much which happened like last year. We kind of, well, the year before we kind of lost our puppy, and then we ended up having to move out of the flat we was in, and we thought, right, we'll move to Lancashire because we'll be nearer to my family's, his family. And I was just searching for a job for months and months and months, and my art kind of started coming back because I'd been stuck in like other jobs and not had the chance. But after work, I was just not motivated to go on and do my art. And then it just kind of all fitted into place, and I was like, this is time. It feels right, and it feels like the universe was saying to me, go on, you might as well give this a go. You don't do it now, when are you going to start? So you're exactly right. Like, I think the universe just kind of, things happen for a reason. Sometimes they're awful, or it's awful stuff, but there's a reason why I think it happens.
Yeah, I think you're so right. I'm so sorry you lost your dog as well.
No, it's all right. He had a birth defect. We had him for 7 months, and unfortunately the birth defect he wasn't going to have a proper life, so we had to pop him down last December, which was pretty awful at the time. But yeah, we've kind of got through it.
It's devastating, especially when I believe pets are like an extension of our family. Yeah. And like it's devastating when we lose a pet or they become ill. Mine's getting older and I'm like, oh God, what do you mean you need help getting on the sofa? When she's playing me at the minute though. She'll like look at me and be like, oh, I think Mum could do lifting me up here, like actually, and plays me. But it's awful, isn't it? Stuff like that. But then it's funny how that kind of thing happens and you're in the thick of it and you feel like shit and then something good comes out of it. Life would have been different for you if that hadn't have happened.
Yeah, like he wouldn't have managed the move over to Lancashire. Like it probably wouldn't have happened for him. And I think because we were originally going to stay in Mirfield, and we were going to look for a place in Mirfield, and if I'd stayed in Mirfield, I would have stayed in my pub job. Yeah, I would have been near my friends and some of my family, which would have been nice, but I wouldn't have been the person I wouldn't have had this chance to do what I'm doing today. So yeah, things happen for a reason, even if at the time it's awful and you feel like it's not gonna get any better at the time. You can get through it, definitely.
Yeah, definitely. And like, I think for you now to be absorbed in all of your artwork and all of your folklore things, and I can't imagine how healing that's been for you as well, to do all your artwork and to kind of like almost, I've got a sense of you coming out of your shell and just kind of being who you are. It's like it's all clicked into place and you're like, yeah, this is me.
Yeah, definitely. It's definitely made me do stuff like this. like if I hadn't started my artwork, if I hadn't got in touch with Ali, I wouldn't be sat here talking to you in an awesome studio, because I am terrified of talking on camera, terrified of talking to the mic. So it's pushed me because I know I need to do stuff like this. And also I was kind of like, yeah, let's try it. Yeah. I'm terrified, but let's try it.
It's not that scary though in real life, is it? Once you get going, it's like fine. I still have this, like, I guess it's imposter syndrome or a bit of fear. And every time I'm editing, I'm like, oh God, Charlotte, are people actually going to want to listen to you ramble on? And you still get a bit like scared. I still get a bit nervous. And like, I'm 2 years in. And I think like that, it's not necessarily a bad thing to have a bit of fear and a bit of scared, like be a bit scared and push through it, because you never know what's the other side, right? Yeah. And I think once you forget that you're in, it's hard to forget that we're in a podcast studio, because even for me, this feels weird.
But it helps because I can see you.
Yeah. But I think and once you get over that part of it, it's a relaxing chat. And then you just end up nattering about anything, really. Yeah. And it's quite nice.
Oh, quite definitely. Nice.
So, talking about nattering about anything, we need to chat about some of the folklore stuff, because I'm quite interested in it as well. I've got a few folklore books, is it Baba
Yaga?
Yes, and she's the witch in the woods, and then her little hut has chicken legs and moves everywhere, and people go and visit her for like medicine and stuff. And I understand that you've got a couple of other folklore-y things. I've got written down here Jenny Greenteeth, but I'm not sure if that's a folklore. I can't remember if that was folklore.
Yeah, that's it's a local folklore for Lancashire, or at least East Lancashire, and I think a bit of Cheshire, but I think they've got a different name for it. So Jenny Greenteeth is a woman who lives in like the canals and the lakes. I think she's based around, like, I think it's the green like algae you get on the top of the actual water. I think that's where her name actually comes from. And she is meant to drag people into the water. So the kind of story people tell is mainly to the kids to stop them from going close to bodies of water in case they fall in. But really, they say it is Jenny Greenteeth will take you.
That makes so much sense, because I've seen so many dogs try and walk on algae and they just sink.
Yeah.
So that actually, it makes common sense. But I suppose for kids, they don't understand common sense, do they? So they're like, someone says Jenny Greenteeth will get you.
Yeah. There's so many different ones as well, like because there's Jenny Greenteeth in there, but then there's, I can't remember what they're called in Cheshire. It's very similar. But then all around the world, there's stories about ladies in the lake which, drag people under. And I think they're just there for cautious tales. There's also, I think it's called the Hands, and it's in Devon in Bodmin. And there's a little bridge in Bodmin which you can go over. And it's known for these invisible hands would take control of the car or the bike and, steer them off the road. I know, it's terrifying. It's Bodmin Moor.
Yeah.
And I think it must have been a really awkward spot, where people just struggled to get round, or there was icy weather, around there. But yeah, there's been sightings of hands which drag them off the road.
Fuck, imagine how scared, I'd be so petrified even driving around there knowing that is one of the folklores. Yeah. I'd be watching the wheel rather than where the fuck I'm going.
And looking out for the black dog of Bodmin Moor as well, whilst you...
Yes. Yeah.
That's probably the problem. Everyone's looking out for, they just go, whoops.
There's quite a lot of weird folklore around Bodmin Moor though, isn't there?
Yeah.
I remember when we drove through it a few years back, we were doing a bit of holiday in Cornwall, and we drove around some of Bodmin Moor knowing that there were some folklores and things like that. And it's actually can be quite scary because it's kind of hilly, and like if it's got a mist rolling in, I can see where like times gone by people made folklores up.
Yeah, definitely. It's because we visited there a couple of years back. We went to Devon and we popped to Bodmin, and it's where Sir Arthur Conan Doyle based The Hound of the Baskervilles as well. And like the way he describes the moor in like the first few lines of his book is just exactly how it is there. I think whatever time of day you go, even if you go in like the summer, it's just like, it's so freaky.
Yeah.
But Marsden's a bit like that, I find.
Yeah.
Whenever you go to Marsden, you're like, it's pretty, but parts of it, you're like, God, this is terrifying.
Yeah. With you. I think I've done some walks around like Wessendon near Marsden.
Yeah.
And if you catch it on a slightly like misty day, that's like terrifying. That whole drive, this is very local to people in the northwest, but there's the road over the tops of the peaks to Manchester can be, well, I've had 4 seasons there before. I've had bright sun, rain, fog, snow, all in like a 10-mile drive. But that can be really freaky if it's foggy, because you can't really see. There's not like any lights apart from your headlights.
Are you thinking like Saddleworth area?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, there's so many awful things which have happened in Saddleworth just in general. But it's terrifying up there.
Yeah, it's awful. This is a bit grim, but part of that drive is where Myra Hindley?
Yeah.
Is that right name? And her co-partner buried some of the bodies and stuff, isn't it? So like, it's not, that's kind of in recent kind of living memory. And then on top of that, I imagine there's more folklore and things as well, which is quite, just adds to the spookiness of it.
Yeah.
Even if you're driving in this blaring sunshine, you're like, oh, I'm scared.
I don't really know much of the folklore around there, unfortunately. But I think after this, I'll definitely be looking.
Yeah, same. I wonder if there's like a Saddleworth black dog.
It wouldn't surprise me.
No.
It really wouldn't surprise me, because there's one, what's it called now? I think it's called the Black Puck. And that's around, well, I want to say, like, not Exeter. I think it's around near Essex, like.
Oh, okay.
Area. But I remember it called the Black Puck. There was a TV programme on it a little while back. I think Charlie Parker, I think his name was. Like, this could be completely wrong, so someone's probably going to be listening to this and going, no, she's completely wrong.
Please comment below if you do know what it is, because we both want to
know. But there's one called the Black Puck, and then obviously there's the Bodmin Moor. Sure, there's another one, but I just cannot think of it right now.
There's so many. I think like folklore must have come from like people just telling stories and like cautionary tales, like you were saying, to kids and to other humans, just to be like, I wouldn't go there, you know. And it's so interesting now that I feel like there's a bit of a resurgence in it, or maybe I'm just surrounded by people who enjoy folklore and crystals and tarot cards and stuff. But I feel like there's a big resurgence in finding out these folklore kind of stories. Do you feel that too?
Yeah, I definitely, but I think, or it might be again, like you said, you know, the people I'm kind of surrounding myself with are people who are interested in this kind of folklore and tarot as well. But it is nice. It's nice to kind of find out the history of them and why or where they came from. There is there's something magic about it, and I feel like that might be what people used to do, because there were so much like unusual things which they didn't know about. They kind of wanted to put their own voice to it and kind of try and explain it themselves. It might not be where it all came from, the folklore, but I feel like that's definitely, you know, could be a way.
Yeah, I agree with you though, because how do they explain like shooting stars? How do they explain like, you know, back in the day, there was an old lady who lived in a hut on her own, and I mean, that sounds amazing, but back then it was probably seen as weird. And like, how do they explain these kind of things if they don't have the science or the knowledge to understand it and expand their own knowledge that way? So it makes sense, really.
Yeah, definitely.
But it's so interesting. Like, I just find this folklore stuff and the kind of witchy side of things so interesting. So how do you figure out what to draw? Like, how do you just get inspiration pulled from anywhere, or do you just think, I'm going to draw that? Or I'm guessing you get commissions as well, right?
I do, yeah. So I've got like one commission at the minute, and that's a portraits of the people in Clayton.
Oh,
so
nice.
My local village. It's part of a group called Super Slowway who work together with the Canal and River Trust to bring activities to the local area. That includes like art activities, it includes like planting, and it's just, and like even ways of like making your own food or like music, music. And it's just a good way of getting the whole community together. So they've commissioned me recently to illustrate the people of my local town, what is now my local town, Clayton. So, and with that, I'm interviewing people as well and like getting to know them, and I'm putting together like a little tabloid newspaper at the end of it, along with an exhibition of the pictures of all the people.
That sounds so cool.
It is really cool. I've met so many cool people, and I keep putting little sneak peeks up on Instagram, but I don't want to show everyone everything just yet, because I want people to be able to come to the exhibition when it's up. So with that one, I was given the project, so that was easy enough. What to do. And with that, I've also like interpreted bits about those people. So it might be the businesses they own, or the favourite pet, if it's like a weird pet. So that was quite easy. The other stuff, some of it comes from like stories I read, like the folklore. Other comes from, it might be like a bit of music, or it could even be an image. Sometimes I'll see an image and be like, well, I like this piece of it. And I like, oh, and there's another, I could maybe interpret this and interpret that. And then it kind of becomes something completely different in the end. But yeah, books, film, music, stories. And then sometimes it's just things you see on every day, like bits of nature and just general life.
Yeah.
Yeah, it can change. And sometimes I'll start doing something and it'll mean like something else, and then it'll just kind of, depending on my mood, it might completely change into something completely different. But yeah, that is quite a hard question, is that? Because I don't really think about it. I kind of just...
You just do it and pluck from everywhere. Yeah. It is hard to kind of break down your process.
Yeah.
Because I find that hard as well. Like whenever I've had students come into the studio while I've been working, and they're like, why have you moved that product there? Or why have you styled that like that? And I'm like, I just have, because I know what works, and like it just is. And they're like, yeah, but explain why. And I'm like, oh God. And then you look at the photographer and you're like, how do we explain like 30 years worth of experience of why this nutcracker shouldn't be here?
Yeah.
And you're just like, scratching your head for a minute.
Like what you do, honestly, I like, it's amazing what you do, because when it comes to styling, if I'm like styling any of my like pictures or anything, I struggle. I really, really struggle. So you being able to just put things like there and there and there, and it just looks so like pretty and like perfect. I'm just like in awe, honestly.
Well, thank you. But I will let you into a secret. It's all composition. So it's like the same as how you're filling your page with like things balancing out. It's pretty much the same. So it's like if you've got something tall, we tend to work in like a triangle. So it'll be like tall in the middle, and I'm letting all my secrets out now, aren't I? And it's all composition, just balancing stuff out. So it's a very similar, but rather than it's products rather than being drawn, I guess.
Do you like draw it out before you do it, or do you just kind of just go straight in and pop things where you think?
Yeah, the second. Yeah, I tend to just like, I get given loads of products, say, and then it needs to be broken down into, I don't know, say 5 shots. Often I'm tied by what products people want in shot, because it might be bestsellers or it might be the buyer wants to push it. So that makes it more awkward, because sometimes like I don't want a 4-foot giraffe or whatever, in my shot, because it looks shit. It doesn't fit with everything else, for example. But often it'll just be, you've got to use this product. We've only got this colour palette. We've only got these blocks or whatever to use. So it is restrictive in a way, but you just have, it's kind of like figuring out a puzzle, but you've not got the front page of the puzzle to know what it's supposed to look like. And some things are way easier than others. So it swings and roundabouts really, but it's mostly at its core, it's composition. So it doesn't really matter whether it's a bedside table, you know, or whether it's product on a tabletop, or whether it's overhead and it's all tiny bits of stationery or beauty products. It's all composition and just the way people read images, really.
Okay.
So that hopefully that's given you a bit of a tip for when you're shooting your pictures.
Yeah.
Because it's just like people tend to read stuff, and I'm going to get it wrong because my brain fog today. Yeah, so we read left to right. So like you kind of want images to flow in the same sense that you like read. You want stuff to flow so that people look through all of your image, so they're not just zoned in on like one part.
Yeah, that makes
like dragging
sense.
The eye.
Yeah, because when I'm doing my art, I go from left to right, like But it's weird because like it just doesn't compute, you know, when I'm like putting things together for. Yeah, that's weird. Okay then.
There you go. There you go. See?
Good.
It's that easy. That's what some of my clients think. And I'm like, it's not that easy. Honestly, guys. Excuse me. No, but it's all about composition. I think like that's something all of us creatives kind of have in common.
Yeah.
It's whether it's you're composing like a final image, whether you're composing a piece of like music or writing, it's all like some form of composition and just filling a space essentially, isn't it?
Yeah, that's a good point actually. Yeah.
Well, that's just come from my brain as well. I don't know where. At least I've got something to tell the students next time I'm in with them.
It's all about composition.
Like, go research that. I've got stuff to do.
Think about your Instagram squares. 6.
Yeah, that's it. It's got to fit in. So do you do craft fairs and stuff as well? Is that a big part of your work?
I did last year. It's something I'm kind of wanting to do a little bit more again this year. But I do also want to work. I want to sell some more stuff like on my actual shop, but I want to do more commissions. I'd love to do kind of book covers or book illustrations.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. I have done a book illustration in the past when I had like a different style, and I did it was an anthology of octopi. Well, it's called the Octopus Anthology, and each had a different story about octopi, and I got to illustrate each story within the book. But at the time, I was only just starting and literally just came from uni, and I did it completely for free at the time. And I'm like, oh, why? So never do anything for free.
We all learn these lessons, I assure you.
But it is cool. I've still got the book because they sent me one of them, one of the books afterwards. So I've got that on my actual bookshelf. Like, to be honest, some of the projects which I have done for free are like some of my favourite projects. I did a project a few years back for O'Keeffe Music Foundation. Mm-hmm. Have you heard of them before?
Yeah, I have, yeah.
They did an awesome version of Tool 46 and 2. Why do I always feel like I'm getting this wrong? No, 46 and 2. And it was really weird because like I'd heard that song like a few weeks before, and then I just randomly got like a message through my actual email from O'Keeffe Music Foundation. I was like, I've heard of these guys, where have I heard them from? And then they were like, oh yeah, it's those kids, it's those like cool kids who do all the rock music. And they were looking for a poster design to help them fundraise. And they were like, really sorry, we can't pay you at the time, but would you be up for doing it? And I was like, yes, definitely, yes. So I did them this whole poster design, which they sold on the website to help them like promote. And it was so cute. Like I got a package like a few weeks later, and all the kids had signed the poster I'd done for them. And I've still got it in the package, and I haven't got a frame yet to pop it up. But as soon as I get a frame, because it was a big A3 poster, so I need to get that framed and popped up on my wall somewhere. But that's probably like one of my favourite like achievements ever, was just having like that all signed by these amazing kids, like literally the School of Rock.
Yeah.
Absolutely awesome. So yeah, I've completely forgotten what your question was.
So have I. I just got engrossed in that little story.
I kind of just got full on carried away. The craft fairs. Yeah, I'm hoping to do a couple more this year, but I am trying to focus on like trying to get myself some more commissions and just expanding my portfolio a little bit, especially with like this newer style which I'm wanting to go down. I kind of need to embrace a bit more diversity in my portfolio. So I love working with like musicians and band artwork. So I want to do a bit more of that, but I also really want to do book illustrations and like book covers.
Yeah.
Just to mirror, like bring together the actual love for reading.
Yeah.
And the stories.
Yeah, I think your style would lend itself to book covers and stuff as well. And I know we said you shouldn't really do stuff for free, but it sounds like the poster that you got back that's all signed is incredible. There's some things that your heart says just do it.
Yeah.
But then there's other things where you're like, oh, come on, I need paying for that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think certain times it's worth doing it, even if especially if it's for charity as well.
Yeah,
I think if your heart's really into it, I think, go ahead.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely learn you need to get paid for certain things, for most of it.
Yeah.
Because you need to pay, you need food on the table.
So you mentioned there as well that you went to uni. So where did you go and what did you do? What did you study?
I went to Falmouth University in Cornwall. Honestly, so beautiful. I studied illustration down there for 3 years. Yeah, it was one of those places like me and my mum went round loads of different universities. We went to Northampton, we had a look at Huddersfield, we went to Lincoln.
Mm-hmm.
Lincoln freaked me out a little bit because the illustration section was in an old cathedral.
Yeah.
And I really like looking at churches and stuff, but it kind of freaked me out. I was just like, I don't feel... And everybody's work seemed the same.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So it felt like they were just churning out the same style of,
Mm-hmm.
But when we went down to Falmouth, I was just like, I knew straight away. I was like, this is the place.
Yeah.
The work was exceptional coming from everyone. The students were all illustrators themselves and still working along with teaching. Yeah, I just knew straight away I wanted to go there. And I really enjoyed it. Like, sometimes I wish I'd stayed down there,
Mm-hmm.
but it was so far away from my family and I couldn't afford it at the time. I had to come home.
Yeah. It's an expensive area to live in. But
Definitely.
I feel you about Lincoln. So I never went to uni, but I did a bit of a tour.
Yeah.
And I went to look at Cambridge and I wanted to do printmaking.
Yeah.
And Cambridge were like, we'll just lump that in with like the fine art degree. And I was like, well, I don't want a fine art degree. I just want to do printmaking. So they had like courses where you could just do printmaking. They were like, no, we're stopping that course because there's lack of interest. And I was like, are you guys kidding me? So then they just put it as like a module. And I was like, I'm not going to enjoy 90% of this. But I never went to Falmouth to even look around, because then by that point in my head, I was like, well, I'm just not going to go then. But I imagine that was probably like the best uni to go to creative wise. But I also understand about Lincoln. Lincoln's one of those, because it's like and I would call it like an old city. It's still got like quite a lot of, it's not as old as York, but it's kind of quite.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very.
Is it oppressive? Is that the right word I'm looking for?
No, like I wouldn't call it, but like I like Lincoln itself, the actual like town. Is it still a town? Or is I think it's a town, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll call it a town. Yeah. Again, if we've got this wrong, please let us know. Yeah, the town itself is like it's beautiful. It's got that kind of York feel to it.
Yeah.
The old buildings and everything, but it was just the uni itself. Like, and I'm pretty sure they were meant to take us on a tour, and they were late, and then they dropped us off not near the building, and there were just like loads of things which happened, and we were just like, they're not really like selling this to us. They're not really. It just didn't feel right. But the town is lovely. Like, I've been maybe only twice. One of my old friends used to live quite close, so we did used to go over. Yeah, I'm happy I went to Falmouth. Like, it kind of just all happened at, again, the right time.
Yeah.
And it was one of the top course. It was the top course for illustration at the time, and I was so shocked to get in. But I remember my college tutor. She was so sweet. She couldn't make it on the day before I went down.
Oh.
And I've still got it. So if she ever listens to this, thank you, Frances. But she wrote me a little note, and she'd made it on handmade paper and made a handmade envelope and everything. And it was just wishing me good luck and telling me my portfolio was like good enough and everything. Honestly, like, I've still, because I have like a box where I keep like certain things, and I've still got it in my box. And ever so often when I go through my box, I'll take it out and read it. And I was just like, that was really sweet of her.
That's such a beautiful thing to be given by a college tutor as well, who like clearly sees something in you.
Yeah.
To like put that effort in to give you that kind of kickstart, especially because I imagine that uni at some points can be quite a lonely place as well. You know, like it's quite a big change. You're moving to a different place. You're studying like a bit harder than what you would maybe in college. And it must have been so comforting to have that little note and be like, oh yeah, she's got my back. It's cool.
Yeah, it really was. And it's weird because like some people end up going to somewhere close so they can like be with their friends and everything still. When I went down to Falmouth, I didn't know anybody. Like there was literally nobody down there. And it took some adjusting, definitely. But the people I met down there were so lovely, and I still talk to some of them today as well. So, the tutors were really good. Yeah, and the trips we got to go on and everything were fantastic. You know, just to get like some professional experience and just have like a little bit of a holiday.
That's it, if you can pitch it in.
Yeah. Well, we went like the last year of uni, we went to New York.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's not where I was expecting you to say
no,
there.
The second year we went to Paris, and the third year we went to New York. The second year was so we could have a look at book illustration. But like see it from a European point of view, because European books are like a lot darker and they're not as mollycoddled as they are over here. So I remember there was even like a book, like this might surprise people, but there was a book about the Holocaust for kids called Smoke. And it was a beautifully haunting, but beautifully illustrated book. And it was for children. Whilst over here, we wouldn't even allow, that kind of thing. Everything has to be friendly and not too scary and not have any bad words, or like it's very protected. Whilst over there, it was kind of, this happened, this is how we're going to explain it, and which I was really surprised about. So that was Paris, which we got to go to. But then, like, the last year with New York was so we could do a portfolio reviews. So we got to, we had to contact different agencies and people before we went, and we got two interviews, like portfolio reviews, which the tutors sorted out, for everybody in general. And then we had to sort out the others. And me and my friend went a little bit earlier, and we came back a little bit later because we didn't want to go with the. Well, it wasn't we didn't want to go with the rest of the group, but we found cheaper flights.
Oh, yeah.
And so we stayed out in New Jersey for a bit and
nice.
Travelled in. And I think we were there for 10 days, whilst everybody else was only there for 7. And it worked out cheaper. But whilst we were there, we got to do these portfolio reviews. We went to an alternative gallery whilst we was over there, which we spoke to them, what kind of thing do you want to see? And then we just kind of chilled around New York. We went to the meatpacking district where we went to the old Coyote Ugly bar.
Oh, nice.
With the tutors.
Oh, my God.
Life drawing classes. And then just during the day, you could go wherever you want and do anything. So we went Coney Island. We saw the Alexander McQueen exhibition, which was amazing. Central Park. Although I wish I'd found the Friends bar, to go sit in there. But yeah, it was amazing. But I don't think many other unis allow for that kind of thing. Well, I haven't heard it of any other unis suggesting these kind of trips.
Because I think they're kind of invaluable though, because you're experiencing a different part of life and a different part of culture. If you go on holiday, sometimes maybe you pack in, I've got to go here, here and here, and then actually you're not allowing that time to go and explore things a bit more gentle pace.
Yeah.
And from a different point of view as well, from an artist's point of view, rather than just we're on holiday, so we need to go see X, Y, Z.
Yeah.
And I'm very jealous that you went to the Coyote Ugly bar, because I fucking love that film.
We didn't stay long enough because we had to travel back to New Jersey, but the rest of my friends out there said that the women actually did swear and stuff at you.
Oh, really?
They did dance on the tables.
Really? Wow. So it's full-on experience.
Yeah, full-on experience.
No, I'm so jealous.
I don't know if they got the hose pipe out for that. I can't remember that. I might have to ask them.
That's so cool, though.
It really is, isn't it?
Yeah. It sounds like you had a really positive uni experience, because I know some people, the people I've interviewed have often had a mixed bag experience with uni.
Yeah.
And it sounds like you had such a positive experience. And how do you think that that's affecting you now? Do you think that you're still able to take some of those experiences into your practice now?
I do feel like I could have done a lot more with it. We did learn a lot, but I was still trying to work out my style throughout uni. I kind of found it a little bit after uni, and now I've found it again. It didn't do anything for my career. Mm-hmm. Didn't really get me into the line of work I wanted, but I enjoyed it. I think that's for me, it gave me experience, and it made me come out of my shell a bit, because I used to be, I wouldn't say really shy, but at one point I was. So I think it definitely made me come out of my shell. It definitely gave me experiences. It made me realise I could kind of do, I could at least try, and I still had a lot to learn as well. So in a way, it humbled me in that way, because I was yeah, I've still got quite a bit to learn. But I enjoyed it. I don't care.
Yeah.
It wasn't a waste of time because I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I think you've hit the nail on the head. I think if you enjoy it, then it's worth it.
Yeah.
And did you go at 18 as well?
Yeah.
Yeah, like I felt there's quite a lot of expectation when you're 18 to know exactly what you want to do. Spend, I don't know, tens of thousands of pounds on a course with the expectation that you're going to get a job from it, which might not always happen. And then you've got to enjoy it whilst also finding new friends. There's a lot of things going on and a lot of expectation on actually quite young people.
Yeah, oh, definitely. Like, I don't know how some people do it. You know, it's like, say, we could talk about like footballers. I know this is completely different, but like some of or just like people who do sports, because they have to learn to do it so young and early, and they rise so young and early. Like how, I don't know how they like mentally like do it, because they've got to be, they're in the public eye constantly. They've got to deal with everything they're going through. They've got to manage the money.
Which is a big thing. That's a big thing at 18 as well. Like you get given the, my other half has chatted about this, like the student loans. And you're like, I'm balling, yes. Like sending money everywhere. That shit's got to last you a year. Like if no one teaches you how to budget, great, new clothes, going out every time.
I never got taught how to budget. I was exactly the same. As soon as my loan came in, luckily I was kind of working as well at the time. I had a job at Boots, so I'd kind of saved up money before I went to uni. And whenever I went back home, I was working, so I had extra. But I used to flitter it away, like, oh yeah, let's get a takeaway tonight, or just going down to Tesco's for Doritos, like near enough every night, you know. And I just used to eat shit and spend money on clothes and like weird things, because apparently art students have to have all weird shit in the rooms.
I'm howling because my house is still full of weird shit.
Yeah, but well, to be honest, mine is as well, but
I don't think that's specifically for art students. I think it's just for us creatives. Oh, fucking hell.
But some of the stuff I used to buy, and then I would like look back at it now and I'm just like, why?
Yeah.
Why? Like I had like one of these little teddies with like, which had a little, it was black and it had its skull. I can't remember what they were called.
Was it one of those that was like had to be stuffed? The teddy, oh my God, what is the teddy bear factory thing called? That shop where you like literally picked a skin of a teddy and then you got to fill them.
No, but I had two of those for my I had one of those for my 18th, which sang Happy Birthday. It was a little cat in a Chinese outfit in a little kimono.
I hope you've still got it.
I think my mum's still got that somewhere.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Unless she's got rid of it because they are selling the house at the minute.
And she's like, Natasha doesn't need this. But it's still singing like Happy Birthday in some sort of like slow voice.
And then I think I had a little like dog one which had a little biker jacket. Like, I don't know why they needed clothes.
Me neither. They were so bad.
Did you have one?
Yes.
What was yours like?
It was a teddy bear, and I remember it having like really flat, you could see its bottom paws, and it had like really flat feet. I don't remember. Oh, it did have clothes. It had a ballerina dress, and I think like a guy who I was kind of dating decided to buy it for me, and like awkwardly gave it to me in the, like I met him to go for like, because it was a thing to go to the shopping centre for a date, and I think I was only like 16 or something, and he really awkwardly like gave it to me, and I was like, oh, this is so cool. But looking back, it was really fucking weird. I think that guy's actually in prison now, which says a lot. But anyway. But yeah, it was just a really weird. I wonder if that's still even open. I mean, like, I don't go to the high street anymore, so I don't even know if that shop's still open.
I don't know. I think the last time I saw one was in like the Trafford Centre.
Oh yeah, it sounds like a Trafford
ago.
Centre kind of shop.
I don't know. We need to go investigate this. If I ever see one, I'm going to be messaging you.
Yeah.
It's still here.
Send me pictures of the clothes. I want to see what
Which
kids
one
are
do
dressing
you
in.
want?
Yeah.
They've probably got little Taylor Swift outfits and everything
Oh
now.
God. Imagine. It's one of those things that, like, I imagine kids like beg their parents for, and then they end up like having them filled up or whatever, and then, oh, can I just have the clothes? I imagine the clothes are more expensive than the bloody teddy bear.
I imagine they've all got little phones now as well.
Yeah, little laptops, like.
And they're with like a little phone with Instagram.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That's hilarious. If you find the kimono cat, please can you send me a picture, because I feel like the world needs to see this.
Yeah, it's a black and white cat with a little red kimono on it.
Oh, God. The fact that someone thought, do you know what Natasha will like? A cat with a red kimono and that it sings happy birthday.
I know. Oh, that's
so
good.
funny. That's so funny. So you were saying about finding your style while you're at uni and stuff. Do you feel like that's something that's always going to keep developing?
Yeah, I think it is. I think I actually remember one of my illustration tutors saying that I think it's every like 10 years or so you end up like changing your style slightly, and I think it's not just because you want to, but because of the styles which is like happening in the industry. Mm-hmm. But I think we're all the same. I think we go through different stages of like liking different things, and I think that influences our art as well. Yeah. I imagine, well, I've seen your stuff, but you're quite colourful, and you know, even with your tattoos and everything, you're very colour based.
Yeah.
And patterned, and I imagine your personal work is a lot more the same. You know, you like your patterns, you like your colour, and yeah. Have you always dressed like this, or have you dressed kind of like different?
I have always been the bright one. Then my auntie got me a pair of leopard print corduroy leggings from Gap when I was about 10, and that's where the love of leopard print came from. But my mum always dressed us in like bright clothes. Yeah. So that kind of stuck around. I did try and be a bit more like, in air quotes, like mainstream and kind of follow trends. And then I was just like, I feel like I look like a dickhead. I mean, people might say that I look like a dickhead now. I'm wearing like multicoloured top and leopard print dungarees. But I think like I fell out of love of trying to follow the crowd because it wasn't making me happy. Yeah. And like my house is crazy. Like it's crazy. There's like an orange wall and there's like bright coloured sofas and like it's just a bit mad. Much to, I think my other half is all right with it, but yeah, I kind of, do you know what? I think hitting my mid-30s, I'm now secretly late 30s, but hitting my like 30s really made me like click into what I enjoyed as a teen and fell in love with, and then I'm reigniting it again. And actually, like, that's who I actually was. In my 20s, I was trying to impress other people. And now in my 30s, I couldn't give a shit. I'm like, I am who I am. I show up as I am. If you like it, great. If not, cool. I'll see you later. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Is that how you feel as well?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm middle. Yeah. Well, I'm 35. And I feel like as my 30s, like, started going on, I've felt more myself. Yeah. And I can feel like things I liked when I was a teenager slowly coming back again. Yeah. Or not even like a teenager, maybe even younger, like actual like childhood because I think with my teenager, I was a bit in the middle. I was kind of like, felt like I needed to like fit in, but then I also wanted to stand out, and I was kind of juggling it. And I even had different friend groups kind of in a way because of that. I had like my really quirky kind of friends who were all arty, and then I had like, not my mainstream, that's awful.
I know what you mean though.
But like just like people who are into kind of like makeup and boys and all that. So yeah, I've had, it's more childhood kind of stuff which is coming ahead. But I found and the reason why I asked you that was whether your like style and clothes and stuff changed, because I feel like it influences your art as well. Mm-hmm. So if you're into really like colourful, like clothing, your art might be more colourful through that stage, or like your interest, if you're very eco-conscious, you might start like doing more nature-based artwork, whilst if you're really into like the horror films on dark clothing, you might venture more to, that kind of style, So I think it depends on like the people and the environment you're around and your interests at the time, depending on the type of work you do. I think that answers your question.
Yeah, I think so. And I think you're right. Like when I was I did a BTEC in fine art.
Yeah.
So a lot of mine was like based on like a lot of colour, a lot of like natural forms and stuff. I've still got like some of the life drawing, which I don't believe was me that I drew all those things, because I certainly cannot draw like that now because I'm well out of practice. But it was way more like brighter side of things. I think you're so right. Like what a lot of things can influence you, and once you find your groove, because I'm 37, so I feel like I hit 30, got married, and was like, right, let's get on this steam train of our 30s.
Yeah.
We got tattooed, lip pierced, everything. But I think you kind of allow yourself to be who you have always wanted to be. And that, like you say, reflects back into your work.
Yeah.
Just, it's an extension of yourself and your own personality and who you are. I think it's really interesting, isn't it? Like psychologically, it's really interesting as well, like how people present themselves. And then you see their work and you're like, oh, of course, like you do folklore-y, witchy bits, but not judging a book by its cover. But it's like, of course, that's what you're into, because that's how you're presenting as well.
Yeah.
I think sometimes like a few of my friends have like, similar to you, I've got like quite arty friends, and quite like some of my friends have got really wild coloured hair, and they're like, some of my other friends dress really wild and their kids dress wild, and and then you see and hear what they do for a job and you're like, of course you dress like that, of course you look like that, like of course Ollie's wife is a costume designer for TV, so
nice.
Yeah, but I think like of course she dresses how she dresses, because she's expressing herself through her job, and through herself, through her clothes. And I think it's important to like dress, to playfully dress as well. Like if you're comfortable and you are comfortable expressing yourself like that, then go for it. One of my friends has got brighter than these chairs. Like just,
really?
Yeah. I constantly got little space buns. Just I can never do them. I try and be too perfect, and they just need to let go. Can't be that perfect all the time.
I've just embraced the natural brown now. Like I've had stages where I've had blue hair, I've had green hair, I've had purple, red, I've had shaved sections.
Same.
And now I've finally got to that point where I'm just like, I'm gonna keep my hair natural.
So I hate to tell you, my hair was natural until the 22nd of December, when I went, I've got some hair dye in the cupboard. So mine's naturally like dark with grey.
Yeah.
And then my hairdresser's going to fucking kill me. But it's not my first rodeo being blue. But same as you, I've had like undercuts, I've had like short haircuts, I've had long hair, I've had like purple, red, whatever.
You just get through a stage where you just get bored.
Yeah.
Well, I do anyway. I'm just like, same. I need to change. Like at the minute, I'm like tempted going to like a 90s bob.
Yes. Although I do like your hair. Like Natasha's hair is almost waist length, I'd say.
near enough.
It's really long.
But it get caught in my sip all
Yeah.
the time, so I'm always like,
Yeah. Yanking your head like, in the middle of the street. Yeah. That's definitely what you find when you get longer hair. I had like a bob for, fuck me, about 5 years.
Yeah.
And so I had this luxury of having a bob and nothing getting caught under a backpack strap. And then as soon as it started to grow, I was like, ugh, getting caught all the time. But yeah, it's funny how you express yourself, isn't it? And how you like, I can't wait to turn 40 to see how I express myself even further. I feel like another layer of the onion's going to be like ripped off.
I can't wait till you're 40. Bring it on.
I'm buzzing. But yeah, I think you just express yourself and like letting go of society's expectations, everybody else's expectations of what you should be, who you should be, what you should be doing, whether you should be having kids, getting married or being single or whatever. And I think you almost shed like your 20s.
Yeah.
And you're like, this is who I am. This was who was in here when they've been here all along.
We're just so scared to come out.
Yeah. That's so
true. But it's
true.
okay now.
Yeah.
People aren't looking.
Yeah, exactly. People really don't care. That's the thing I think I've found is like, people really don't care about what you look like at the beach, what you look like at work. Like, they really don't give a shit.
But I also feel like it's more acceptable now as well. Like when we were younger, having like wild hair and stuff like that, it was still looked at like a little bit off.
Yeah, like what's wrong with her?
Yeah. Whilst now, there's so many people, and like you can go into like corporate, jobs as well. And people have got coloured hair, or they've got piercings, or they've got like tattoos. Yeah. And it's not like frowned upon as much.
No, I agree. And like, I think my dad said to me when I got hand tattooed, he was like, oh, and just who's going to employ you if you're tattooed? And the thing is, people in my industry have got their face tattooed. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's just not, people just don't give that much of a shit. If you're good at your job, they don't care, as long as you're obviously not turning up naked or whatever. But like, they just don't care.
Yeah.
And that releasing that expectation is so freeing. Do you think that your artwork is going to change like when you hit 40? Do you feel like you might have like another... Do you feel like this next 5 years are going to be quite like formative for you with your artwork as well?
Oh, I don't know. I can't answer that, I don't think. I think these next 5 years, all I can tell you is I'm going to try. I'm going to really, really try. But I can't tell you what's going to happen because I don't know yet. I'm just going to let it go with the flow. And as long as I pop it out there in the universe and just see what the universe does, because you just don't know what's going to happen.
No, it's really hard to predict, isn't it? Like, I was just thinking then as you were answering that, I was like, oh, actually, what would I answer if the shoe was on the other foot?
Yeah,
and I wouldn't be able to tell you.
How would you answer?
I don't know. I just hope that I was still alive, probably had more tattoos. And yeah, I don't know. Like, I'd hope that I became even more sure of myself, I think. Yeah.
That's
even
a
more
good
sure
answer.
of myself. Because the thing, you do wobble, don't you, when you're a kid and when you're like 20s, figuring shit out.
Yeah.
Then, yeah, a bit more. Well, I don't know if I can get any more like, fuck it attitude. I think it's already there quite. It's quite ingrained.
I think the main thing I just want to be, healthy. Mm-hmm. And I just want to keep going with this art and hopefully be able to make it into a proper living. Yeah. Even if that's all it does is pay for like my rent and food on my table and the bills. I don't need any more than that. Just enough for me to actually survive, because I'll be enjoying it whilst I do it.
Yeah.
That's all I ask for.
And do you know what? I think that kind of success, because it still is success, when you're pulling your earning from your passion, that's so modest, but it's actually really, like you say, all you need.
Yeah.
Don't need anything else. Everything else is a bonus, right? And then that actually, again, that frees you up, because you're not chasing, I've not got to earn £1 million, or I've not got to earn this, and stuff will just naturally come to you because you're not stressing about it.
Yeah.
I'm so excited for you. Oh, I'm so excited. I've also got a bit of a note actually on this about, we mentioned before about an illustration agency. Are you still thinking that you might want to look into that kind of side of things?
Yeah, I do. I've got an idea of which one I want to go for, and I just need to work out my portfolio for them. I think I mentioned it to you before that I applied with some older work to them a little while back, and I wasn't the right fit for them. But I was lucky enough to actually meet the person who actually organises the agency.
Oh, cool.
I kind of met her at a local illustration meetup.
That's cool.
I know, and I didn't realise at the time when I'd sent it in that it was her who actually owned it. So when I spoke to her, I actually showed her my work, and she really liked my new stuff.
Oh, that's cool.
And she hinted to me basically to get my portfolio properly together.
Excuse me. That's made my eyes water. I'm going to kill my husband, I tell you. So you were saying about you've met this illustration lady.
Yeah, so I've met her and I've spoken to her, and I just need to hopefully get a few more pieces into my portfolio, and then I'm going to send it off to her again. And fingers crossed, I haven't burned the bridge yet. So yeah, but it would be nice to have an actual agent behind me, just to hopefully just have that extra bit of help to actually find, some bigger clients.
It's that extra backup, I think. So like there's some creative agencies as well who do styling and things. It's the backup, it's the help, it's the help for you to be pushed in the direction that you want to go in.
Yeah.
And I think that's really important.
Are you with an agency with yours?
No, friends are though.
Yeah.
It's never something I felt like I've needed, but I know that they're there if I needed them.
Yeah.
But friends have really good experiences, so it swings and roundabouts for me really. Like my job's a specialist job, but it's not, you can find work without an agent. But I guess if you're chasing like book covers and you're kind of wanting to be put in touch, you need a middleman almost to put you in touch with the authors to do their book covers and things like that. So you need that middle ground, don't you? That middle person.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm hoping for with an agency. And also they focus a lot more on the actual like invoice side of it.
Oh, yeah.
As well, which especially for someone who's kind of, I say I'm just starting out, because I am, like, I've only really just started taking it properly seriously. That's awful English. Yeah, I've only just started taking it seriously in the fact that, I'm doing it freelance now. So I'd like that extra help, with the actual invoice side and actually getting the clients as well.
Yeah, and like managing the client kind of relationship can be quite tough, especially if you're asking someone for money or like, but you kind of politely got to say like, excuse me, this invoice is late,
Yeah.
And an agent takes all of that away from you so you can focus on the part that you really enjoy, which I think is like really important.
Yeah, definitely. Because they just give me the brief and I just get straight on it and do the bit which I enjoy.
Yeah.
That's the same with like the social media side and stuff. I prefer being sat doing the drawings and everything than doing the actual content.
Yeah.
But I know it's a necessary evil, you've kind of got to. And luckily I'm surrounding myself on social media with people I actually like to look at the content of and like to communicate with, and which helps a lot.
Yeah.
Because when you've got when you're scrolling Instagram and there's just people you don't even have anything in connection with, then it makes the whole experience awful.
Yeah, that's so true though. It's so true.
Yeah.
It like you definitely need the you can end up on the wrong side of Instagram or TikTok, or like if something goes viral and then all of a sudden you've got like Barry from the local council estate like ripping you to shreds and you're like, all right, Barry. you know. And I think like that's another like downside, I guess, to social media. But I don't know about you, I do loads of stuff on my social media, I schedule it out, so then I just can come back to it, because otherwise it's too distracting, and sometimes like I find I fall out of love with it.
I have been tempted doing that, but like I do like the whole communication with people as well.
It's nice that I think I'm trying to strike the balance between like turning it off after 6 o'clock, and then still communicating with people. Like, it's easy to do a quick like text, you know, or a quick answer to a comment or something, but I think it's difficult if you're like trying to manage a business, promote yourself, you're trying to do your tax, you're trying to chase invoices, and then you're trying to add social media and everything else to it. It's a lot.
I might have to look into scheduling. I have thought about it in the past. You can get like apps and stuff like HubSpot and
but you can schedule it via Instagram itself anyway. Yeah, let me show you.
Yes, you can.
So on your social media, if you go into, and this will be handy for anybody else who's listening as well. You can't see this, but I'm going to talk to you while I'm doing it. Basically, I'll just move the microphone a bit. When you go onto your profile, it has like the 3 lines here on the side. So you can post something, and then if you scroll down, I'm on an Android. If you scroll down, it'll say schedule content.
Yes, mine does that, yeah.
So I don't have anything at the moment, but say if I was to put a random post of me up, and then you click post, whatever, click next, and then you can scroll down and it'll go to more options, and then you click into advanced settings, and then it'll go schedule this post, and then from there you can literally scroll and schedule for whenever you want.
That's such a good idea.
A friend of mine is a content creator, and she said that she always posts hers, like she does 3 a week, I think, and she always posts them for like, say on like a Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 7 a.m.
That's Sicily.
Sicily, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Excuse me, yeah. So she'll always post them at the same time. So then her followers go, oh, okay, Sicily's coming up, you know, so they get used to her regular content. So it's really helpful. Like, it's helped me with the podcast stuff.
Yeah.
You know, to just have that knowledge. She does a little workshop as well, which is really good.
Yeah.
But I think then it helps you remain consistent, because then if you go like, right, okay, I'm going to post 3 times a week, and I want like, I don't know, a quote post, a picture, and like a sound bite, say, for my podcast. I can like sit there one day while my husband's at work, say on a Sunday, schedule almost a month's load out.
Yeah.
And then I've not got to think about it. All I've got to think about is like commenting back to people or resharing on stories and things like that. Like, it takes the pressure off.
Okay, yeah.
So
that makes more sense.
Yeah, it's so much, like scheduling it has been so helpful. Because then you can have a day or half a day or even 2 hours making a fuck ton of content.
Yeah.
And just, right, okay, well, I'll like schedule it all out. It's done then.
Yeah, I'm going to have to do it that way.
Yeah, it's honestly, it's been, I wouldn't say life-changing. I don't feel like social media is life-changing. But it's definitely been like massively helpful for me. Because it is a lot of pressure. It's a lot of pressure trying to like you're wearing a multitude of hats when you run your own business. And people forget that. Even though they're like, oh, you're self-employed, it's fine. You're like, and you smile and put your thumb up and carry on.
I'm working more hours than I was before.
Yes, 100%.
Might not look like it, but it's there in my head at least.
Yeah. Exactly the same. Like we said before we hit record today about Christmas break, and I was like, it's been great because I've turned my head off. I've like just switched off. And I think you do need that, like, because you are on the go all the time. You're like, where's my next load of money coming from? Where's my next project coming from? Where's this coming from? And you do need that break to just switch off and do the stuff also you enjoy, you know, give yourself that creative break.
Yeah. I think I've struggled with scheduling in the past because sometimes I'll like sit and I'll start drawing something and it'll like be not like I'll have already put like posts up, or I won't have had any posts up, and then I'm like, I really want a picture of this. Oh, I really want to show this. Oh, look at this.
Yeah.
And then so I get like all excited and post it too early than I should have done. Or yeah, but I think that I need to start scheduling. I think that's a really good idea.
Even if it's like twice a week.
Yeah.
Keeps you like in people's front of their minds, and then it still gives you that space to add in extras if you wanted. Like, it's not, don't add that pressure to yourself where you've got to be like, I've got to post every day, which is what I've had to tell somebody who I manage another account for. And I was like, you don't need to post every day. It's not like essential that you're like doing reels every day.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to work like that. You can like, you know, chill out a bit and like it'll come. Because you don't want to add that extra pressure if you already got pressure of like trying to do the work and everything else.
Yeah, it's a really good idea, that. I am going to take that on board.
Do. So I've got one final question for you.
Ooh,
you know what it is.
Time?
It's that time. You know what it is, but because you've listened. And you've kind of answered it a little bit within the last hour or so that we've been recording. But what inspires you, Natasha?
So I've already answered like with all the witches in the folklore, but I'm going to go a bit cheesy now.
Go for it. We love cheese.
It's actually my family, especially my mum. She's an artist herself, but she also does a lot of sewing. She's called the Slipper Lady to most people, because she recovers slippers in like funky designs. You'd love her stuff. But she's just amazing. Like, she's always been so strong, so supportive, even though sometimes she's sent me upstairs telling me my work's shit and to do it again. But it helped. Mum, it helped.
They have a way with words, don't they?
But yeah, she's so strong. So like, just got a really good mindset on her, and I think she's taught me to be stronger than I thought I could be. So yeah, it's really cheesy, but my mum, she's the person who inspires me. She's been through a lot of shit the past few months. I'm not going to go into too much detail about that. And I'm just really proud of how she's coped with it. So yeah, that's my main inspiration.
That's so lovely. And I can see the emotion on your face as well. And I think what a lovely thing that your mum's your main inspiration, because I think mums are the best, aren't they?
Yeah.
And like, especially, it sounds like she's a super creative person too. And it sounds like that maybe is where you've got your creativity from as well. And how amazing that you get to share that with her.
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely helps. Like, well, my whole mum's side of the family are really creative. My grandma, who's in her late 80s now, she's still drawing. She draws portraits and stuff. She loves it. Sits there with a little magnifying glass and loves drawing people. And my granddad, although he doesn't do it as often now, he used to draw a lot of cartoons.
Wow.
Like caricature stuff. He never like really did anything with it, but he just used to do it as just a bit of enjoyment whilst he used to be just work, like on his breaks in work, just like used to doodle people down. A bit like kind of like the stuff you'd see in newspapers, like Giles and stuff like that.
That's so cool. Is the illustration is literally in your blood?
Yeah.
It's literally in your blood.
That's who's really inspired me. My mum was always kind of more realism and portraits, whilst my grandma the same, and my granddad was the cartoon style. So yeah, they've all kind of influenced me in my own way. They've always supported me and pushed me to do it as well. So yeah, so it's my family, and especially my mum.
That's so lovely. It's so nice that all your family are like are creative too. That's insane.
Yeah.
I'm very jealous. Mine are not as creative, so I'm very jealous.
Yeah, I was very, very lucky, like from a young age and stuff, like, especially whenever I went round to my grandparents, they'd get me drawing, you know, sat there drawing, writing stories. My granddad would take us out for drives and my grandma would get us to tell her a story, and we had to like make up a story whilst we were driving. Yeah, they've always been very creative people, and it rubs off on you, like having that experience and knowing. And it's just like, it's really mindful as well. It's just a calming family, you know, if everyone's sat there creating or pushing each other to do it. So yeah, I've been very, very lucky to be in the position I was and still am. Yeah.
It's so lovely. On that note, that lovely note, I'm going to end it there. So thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you. And thank you for like sorting all this out.
That's all right.
You know, bearing with me whilst the universe decided it didn't want to work for us.
Well, thanks for making the trip to Manchester as well. And thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode. I hope you enjoyed it. Please rate, follow and share, as it really helps this little podcast out. And if you have found value in the podcast and you have the means to, I do have a Buy Me a Coffee link in the show notes. This will help keep the podcast going. Join me next week for another fantastic guest. Bye!